Now I've got a really fun pattern for you today. I know I say that a lot, but this time I really mean it. And the story about how I came up with a name for this fly, I think y'all are gonna love it. Stick around. Hello everybody, welcome to Savage Flies. I'm Matt, thanks for stopping by. So how many of y'all out there have gone into a fly shop and picked a fly out of a bin and it's not named, you don't really know what it's called, but you use it and you like it, so you take it home and dissect it and then tie them up yourself. Well, I did that a couple of years ago and I came up with this foam hopper. Now, the one that I took out of the fly shop, it was pretty different from this one. It worked well for me and I really liked it, and it floated well, but it wasn't a real high floater, so I ended up putting some indicator on it, and then I put another piece of foam on top of it just to make it a little bit bulkier. So it looks a little bit like a Chernobyl ant or a Chernobyl hopper, but it doesn't look exactly like one, and it doesn't look exactly like any patterns out there, so it doesn't really have a name. I just always called it, my pink foam hopper or purple foam hopper, whatever color it was that I had. Now, fast forward to just a few months ago, and two of the viewers of the channel who've been supporting me for a really long time, Ken and Linda Blaine, they had their granddaughter coming and staying with them over the summer. And Ken emailed me and told me, hey, our granddaughter Chloe, she's 12 years old, she's tying, she's already been tying for a couple of years. She's tied every fly that you've made on the channel since April. And I thought he was probably exaggerating a little bit because just doing the math, that's, 40 something flies over the last 4 months. But then he sent me a picture, and he wasn't exaggerating at all. Chloe had tied every fly that we'd done on the channel since April, and she did a really good job on it. Some of these flies look great. And then Ken tells me that Chloe wants to mail me these flies at the end of the summer. And I thought that was just such a kind gesture and would make such a wonderful gift. And I don't think there's any way I would be able to repay, Chloe sending me all the flies she's tied from the channel. So what I've decided to do is this fly that I always just called my foam-bodied hopper, I'm going to change the name and I'm calling it Chloe's Hopper. I just want to say thanks. Thank you for supporting the channel and offering to send me these flies. That's just such a kind gesture. I really, really am touched by it. So this fly, hereby called Chloe's Hopper, it's a really cool looking pattern. It's not a hard tie, but it does take a little while because there's just a lot going on with it. Now, you don't have to tie this in purple or pink. I think the funky colors look really cool, but it works great in a tan, dark brown, or olive colors as well. So Chloe, this pattern is for you. I think y'all are going to like this pattern. Let's give it a shot. So there you go, in the vise, what I've been calling Chloe's Hopper. You can tell it's a pretty buggy looking fly. Got an awful lot of legs on this guy. Now I'm tying this on a terrestrial hook. It's a curved shank hook. It's a 2 extra long standard thickness. If you've got any 2x long dry fly hooks, it certainly doesn't have to be a curved shank hook, but I think it looks pretty good as such, and this is a size 10. Now for your thread, also if you've got a color of thread for the main part of the body, if you're doing a pink one and you got pink thread, that'd be great. If you're doing a purple one, you got purple thread, that would also look great. I didn't have either of those colors thread, so I'm using white. And that's what I've done in the past, and it always looks pretty good. So put a base down pretty much for the whole length of the body. I'm going to take my thread right back up the top and tie in my first piece of foam. And the first piece is going to be the one that we wrap over. So this will end up being the middle piece. So I'm using the tan, and sometimes you'll do a black as the middle piece, but for this one, the light colored one with either a pink or purple, I think a tan in the middle looks really good. So I'm catching it up at the front, and this one I'm just wrapping really tight against the body. This isn't so much for flotation, just kind of keeps the body even, and it does give it a little bit of flotation, but we're tying it so tight, and we'll end up having several more wraps that, this probably doesn't add a whole lot to its ability to float. I'm sure it does add some, but envision flipping it over. Do we need to take it back a little farther? No, I think we're going to be fine right there. So that's going to be the back of our fly. Now let's take our thread back to the, where we started. And this piece, we're going to just tie this one in. Maybe we don't want to go that far back. Let's go about just a little bit in front of it. So this piece we're going to tie right there, and then we're going to fold it up over on itself. So this one, let's go, I don't know, what's that? Maybe, probably not 1/4 of an inch, but let's put a couple of wraps right here. So what I'll do here, I'll put a couple of wraps, 2 or 3, just to lock it in right there. Lift it up, go a couple under, and then do that again. And this, you know, it'll give you some segmentation. I'm not necessarily doing it for the segmentation. I'm doing it like this so that I'm not really matting down that pink, because this is what's, you know, going to really help it float. So do that until you get about, you know, 4 segments, I guess, is going to be just about right. Okay, and then that flap off the front, well, that's going to be our head. So use the underside to get your thread back. See what I'm doing here? I'm going under and then going back over right there. And now we're kind of at the midpoint. This is where you want to fold this one over, and then just a couple of wraps right here. We've got a good bit more going on right up here. So that's the back half of our body right there. Now we're going to tie in, this part probably doesn't matter whether you tie in the indicator material or the legs first. I'm just going to do the indicator material. And how much of this you use, this is just actually a parapost, but any white Zelon or Antron fibers is going to work fine right here. So this piece is about 1 inch long. I'm just going to catch it in right in the middle, maybe 2 wraps, and I'll fold it back over in just a second. So there's a couple wraps right there. And this is, I'd probably go ahead and trim this right now. And about, remember we're going to have one more piece of foam kind of holding it down. So just cut it about to the back of the body. And really how much of this you use kind of depends on how much of it you need to be able to see. If your eyesight's like mine, you kind of need a little bit of cheater here to be able to see this thing. Use a lot of it. Okay, now the next component we're going to tie on are the legs. Just some of the silly legs. This is a barred rubber, black and white. I think the black and white looks pretty cool. And what I will do here, I'll take 2 of them, tie them in a knot, and then cut the back. You know, leave just 1 strand coming off the back, 2 coming off the front. So let's catch this in, and you'll kind of want to judge your length right here. Oh, I don't know, have that knot maybe to the back of the fly, whatever you think looks right there. And don't worry if they flare out. We've got a lot of legs, and they're going to be going all over the place before we're done anyway. So I think 2 wraps is probably going to be sufficient right there. And then do the same thing with your other leg on this side. Okay, and before you snip them, check your lengths. I think those back legs look fine with the length. Now let's go ahead and trim the front to about the length we want. That's just going to make it easier to do the rest of the fly. So maybe it might be easier to just pull all these up forward right here. That way you're going to get on the same, and maybe just a little bit in front of the eye. Now let's go ahead and trim these back ones just a little bit shorter. Get them the length we want. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting close to being done. So let's catch this top piece in right here, just kind of sandwiching that white indicator right between the 2 pieces of foam. So now let's get that pretty tight right here. Before you get it too tight, make sure you didn't mess your legs up too much. I think ours look fine. Now we can do this underneath wrap and get it back up here. And we'll catch these in all with the same wraps. So just do 2 because we're putting more legs on this thing. This guy's crazy long with legs. All right, so that's looking okay right now. We're gonna have to trim these front pieces, and you might want to just go ahead and do that. Just pull it up. You probably want them about even. I think it's gonna look fine. If anything, maybe that top one just a little bit shorter than the others. Now let's put 2 more legs on. Just that same, barred silly legs. And I'm gonna put this one in on one side, and it's gonna flare out as soon as I pull it tight. See this? And that's really what we want. So let's do one more right here. We're gonna have to trim these. No doubt, you always do. Okay, my legs are looking okay. Let's trim them to size. Maybe these front ones just a little bit shorter than the back ones. And we're almost done. How I will finish this thing is, I'm not gonna put head cement after I'm done, so I'll just put a drop of super glue about maybe within that first 1/2 inch of the thread right there. Just touch a drop to it. You won't get a whole lot on your thread, but you'll get a couple little beads right here. And then you can just wrap this up through here 2 or 3 turns until you're not wrapping any more super glue. And now just whip finish it right there between those 2 front legs. If you've got a big enough whip finish tool, you can probably get it around it. If not, you might want to do it by hand. Just remember to go right between them, or you will, pinch one of them going back, and it won't look right. Let's see, okay. And I kind of pinched one right there, but it's not too bad. I think we can live with that. Let's reach in here and snip this thread. Now take one more look. Do we have any cleanup? Some of these legs right here might be just a little bit long. Let's go ahead and shorten these right here. And take a look, see what the fish sees. This right here. Basically a torso with a whole bunch of silly legs coming off. But it's a pretty fun pattern. Not a hard one to tie, but it does take a little while. But that's it, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.